All right, welcome everyone to the February 17th regular board meeting of the Edmonton Metro Transit Services Commission. And welcome to everybody, both in person on camera and those watching via YouTube. Just a reminder to all that are on the call here on Zoom that we are now recording this meeting and it is being live streamed on YouTube for the public. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, may this be over quickly. Board members are each in their respective homes and or places of work for the duration of this recording. Thank you for those who have joined us today and to the members of the public watching our live stream or later the recording of this meeting. As we start off every meeting, I'd like to begin our meeting with a land acknowledgement. So it's my pleasure on behalf of the board that we would like to acknowledge the traditional land on which we are virtually gathered is Treaty 6 land. We would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territories for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and the Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge that this is the Métis homeland and the home of the largest concentration of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share the Edmonton metropolitan region as home. And I haven't found a better place to live yet, so there you go, even with the snow. So board, we have an agenda before it. It's a bit revised. So as it's presented here or has been sent to you, and I'm looking for an approval of the revised agenda. And the revised agenda is simply that number 4, administrative budget adjustment, comes out of the Audit and Finance Committee. And when that comes up, I'll turn it over to you, Councillor Laurie, to introduce it, and then we'll continue on. So certainly looking forward to for a motion to approve the revised agenda. And we'll use the raise the hand function to vote. Would someone care to make that motion? Thank you, Councillor Monkoff-Swain. Care to read it into the record?
Sure. I'll move that. I don't know if it's going to come up on screen or if I can just speak to it. There we go. Yeah, sorry, one slide back. Number 5. Keep going one more. There we go. That the February 17, 2022 revised agenda be approved as amended.
Thank you very much, sir. And on that, I'll call the vote for the approval of the revised agenda. And that is approved unanimously. Thank you very much, Councillor Monkoff-Swain. Moving right along to the consent agenda now. We have before us 4 items on the consent agenda. Letter from Aaron O'Toole, regular board meeting minutes, HR and Comp committee meeting, and the ad hoc committee meetings minutes. Would someone care to move this motion? Councillor Laurie, would you care to read it into the record?
Sure, can do. Thank you. I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Thank you very much. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Outstanding. Thank you very much. And moving on to item number 4, administrative budget amendment. And on this note, I'll ask you to introduce this item, Councillor Laurie, as the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just a brief note before I turn it over to Mr. Jankowski. Essentially, after the budget was approved, Mr. Jankowski noticed a little bit of a discrepancy in regards to the fact that we did not actually have a weighted cost allocation determined for the 2022 budget. Therefore, he did come back to the Audit and Finance Committee recognizing that and requesting that we return to the original cost allocation that was put in the initial bylaw, since we do not at this point in time have any operations, nor will we have any operations for the 2022 fiscal year. Basically, if we recall, the way that it was set out is once we had operations determined, there would be a service level allocation, which would then change the funding allocation percentages based on the amount of service level for each community on each route. So that's kind of the notes. It was a very brief meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee in order to discuss this. It was very well presented, very well understood, and we were able to pass that there so we could bring it to the board meeting today. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Jankowski for additional comments, and then I'm assuming for any questions.
Thank you. So I don't have much to add to Councillor Laurie's description, other than to say that this is something that we caught because of a notation at the top of Schedule 1 of the governance bylaw, which indicated that the initial weighted cost allocation was to be in place until such time as the first year's operating budget was approved. We should have included a notation in that original budget that the board approved on December the 16th to the effect that we would carry forward for one more year with that original weighted cost allocation. And while it doesn't really have an impact with regards to the budget for 2022 itself, where it does come into play is that when the board considers any special resolutions that will be coming forward over the next year, the weighted cost allocation forms the basis for the actual voting, the weighted voting that would be in place. And as we intend to go through the strategic planning process over the course of the next month, bringing forward a strategic plan ultimately for the board's consideration and approval. At that point, the strategic plan itself would be subject to a special resolution. So it's imperative that we put this in place, this weighted cost allocation for 2022 in place to allow for the board's consideration of those items that would require a special resolution over the course of 2022. Given, as Councillor Laurie indicated, given that we do not have a revised or any basis for a change to that weighted cost allocation from what was in the original Schedule 1 of the governance bylaw, we have proposed and the committee has approved the recommendation that we continue to use that original weighted cost allocation for one more year. And certainly as we go forward from this point, as part of every operating budget submission that we bring forward from this point, we will be including a revised weighted cost allocation to make sure we don't end up in this unfortunate situation again. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, both of you, for presenting this here. I think, quite honestly, I like the idea that this is not on the consent agenda. It's a significant motion that comes to the board, and a brief presentation is appropriate. So thank you very much. Any questions from any board member who is not a part of the Audit and Finance Committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Then, Councillor Laurie, can I ask you to make the motion then?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'll move that the board approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2022 Audit and Finance Committee, and that an amendment to the 2022 budget adopted by the board December 16th, 2021 to add a 2022 weighted cost allocation unchanged from the values included in Schedule 1 of the governance bylaw.
Thank you. Certainly accept that motion. Any opening comments on debate?
No opening comments. I think we had a thorough review already.
Fair enough. Anyone wishing to enter into debate on this? Seeing none, I'll just make this comment. Often board decisions are made because we recognize what's going on, and it is not unknown to us what is presented here. But I appreciate the presentation because there are those who are viewing this online, and they are not aware of this particular budget amendment. And so it's appropriate that we present our work in public, and I appreciate that. So any closing comments, Councillor Laurie?
No, again, I'd just like to thank Mr. Jankowski for the way he brought this forward. Again, understanding and recognizing that there was something that needed addressed, and bring it forward with the full description as to why it was a challenge. Obviously, we know we're going to continue to be debt financed for the 2022 year. However, as Mr. Jankowski explained, this is still a key piece as we move forward with some of our planning.
Fair enough. Calling the question, all in favor, please raise your hand. And I see that as unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. And that's been approved. Moving on to item number 5, CAO update. CEO, pardon me, I'm used to saying CA, but Mr. Jankowski, no matter how I pronounce it, you're still the Chief Executive Officer. So if you wouldn't mind, please.
Thank you very much. So we've got just 3 quick updates for the board to familiarize themselves with the issues at hand. The first is we're just presenting a further update on the round of presentations that we're carrying out to let the member municipal councils become the newer members of the member municipal councils become aware of what it is that the board is overseeing in terms of the delivery of integrated transit services as part of the EMTSC. We've now carried out, if we can just move on to the next presentation, we've carried out 4 of these presentations. So we've been at the councils of 4 of the 8 member municipalities: Leduc, St. Albert, Fort Saskatchewan, and Stony Plain. And I believe the next one, if we can just move to the next slide, please. The next presentation is at Spruce Grove on February 28th. We've got the 3 others following that: Devon on March 3rd, Edmonton on March 14th, and Beaumont on March 15th. All of the presentations to date have, I believe, been fairly well received. There have been interesting questions posed by members of the various councils. There seems to be quite a bit of interest in what it is that the board is overseeing, what the commission is working on. The bulk of the presentation focuses on the 2022 work plan that the board has approved, and there is a lot of desire to see the results of, in particular, the detailed service planning, which I'll speak to as part of the next item. The one issue that I will just point out is just in the last day or so, I've also received confirmation that there is a desire for us to appear in front of Strathcona Council to provide an update, a status update on the work that the commission is providing. And we're just working to finalize a date with the staff at Strathcona County. But I intend to provide a similar type of presentation to the ones that your councils have been seeing to Strathcona County, and to keep them abreast of the work that we are undertaking over the course of 2022. So with that, maybe that's an appropriate place for me to pause if there are any questions with regards or comments with regards to the council presentations.
Any questions, board members? Councillor Harris, then Councillor Finstad.
No questions. Paul came out and presented to our group on Tuesday, and I think it was really timely. I haven't been particularly forthcoming with much information in our council about what we've been doing. It's just a lot of detail that I think ultimately I didn't want to usurp the opportunity for the CEO to get in front of our new group, of which 2 are new, and give them an idea. There were some good questions, and I think there were some a couple pointed questions about the financial stuff, and rightfully so, because that ultimately, when we get down to the nitty gritty, is really how do we pay for all this, and how are we going to do that, allocate costs. So I think Fort Saskatchewan City Council found it quite illuminating, and I think that's a really good thing. And it's from a transparency standpoint, I think it helps. at least me, within the context of being a board member, to present it so that everybody hears the same message at the same time. So I guess acknowledgement for Mr. Jankowski's presentation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harris. Good points. Councillor Finstad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question I have regarding the presentation to Strathcona County. Paul, do you think it would be appropriate to have a bit of a contingent to attend with you with that presentation, similar to what we're doing in Edmonton, or do you think it would be best served on your own?
At this point, I guess my suggestion would be that it might be appropriate to have a the chair or the vice chair of the board. I think this is for information purposes, but I think a demonstration of the political commitment to the undertaking would not be a bad thing. I hadn't proposed that to the administration at Strathcona County, but I don't think it would be a negative. I think certainly if there's an interest on behalf of individual board members to attend, we can certainly make that. I can certainly make that information available as to when it will take place, and I think it's not a bad idea at all, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Finstad. Tend to agree. And on that note, I do want to thank Councillor Knack for your work to arrange an appropriate date for your council to hear this presentation. So some of us can join and speak to the merits of the case if requested. So thank you for that, Councillor Knack. I appreciate that. I do know how tough it is to arrange council agendas, so thanks. Any other questions? Good job, Mr. Jankowski. This is critical, I think, just to keep engaging our respective municipalities. We get to sit around the board table and we hear this, and we're intimately involved with the work of the board. Our council colleagues are not. And to Councillor Harris's point, when you go and make presentations on behalf of the commission, then all of council hears the same message all the time. So I appreciate that. And Councillor Monkoff-Swain, we're saving the best for last. So looking forward to that for sure. If there's nothing on this further, it will be interesting to see how Strathcona County responds. The fact that they're asking is very encouraging to me. At least they are trying to stay informed of the progress of the commission, and perhaps we can work together in a holistic fashion going forward. In any case, I'll continue to turn the meeting over to you for the next part of your update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we can flip to the next update topic, I wanted to just provide the board with a little bit of further information on where we are with the critical work that the board approved as part of the 2022 work plan around detailed service planning and bottom-up costing. I'm happy to report that when we closed the request for proposals on Monday of this week, we had received 3 proposals from across the country to undertake that work. And we are in the process now of working with, as I indicated in earlier meetings, with some of the key staff from the city of Edmonton to evaluate the proposals, and in particular to ensure that when we come up with a work plan and a strategy, that it is integrated with the complementary work that the city of Edmonton staff are pursuing with regards to monitoring and with regards to considering changes to their own bus network, and to identification of how the two network proposals, how the two detailed service planning proposals would be integrated and would mesh together to achieve the best overall benefits for all of the travelers across our communities. So we're carrying out the evaluation currently. We have a tentative date for potential interviews with one or more of the proponents, and we're still on track to bring forward a recommendation for the board to approve at the additional meeting that has been scheduled for March 3rd for this specific reason. And I hope that by that time we'll be able to bring forward a completely reasoned and cogent recommendation with analysis for the board, so that we can move this forward and try to meet the timeline that we had set out of having a detailed service plan proposed and recommended and hopefully approved by the board by the middle of this year. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the board? All right, seeing none, certainly looking forward to your recommendation. This is key work going forward. Without disclosing, I know that our conversation was, is there a winner in the mix? And you suggested there was some comfort that the work could be done. And so I'll certainly allow you and your team to do your interviewing and assessing of the proponents, and then looking forward to your recommendation. So
thank you. If I can make just one last comment, I want to recognize the contribution of the City of Edmonton staff. I know Councillor Knack was instrumental in terms of ensuring that we get that kind of complementary consideration, and I really appreciate the fact that that we now have them working with us hand in hand. So thank you, Councillor, for that.
outstanding. Okay, seeing no further comments, I'll just ask you to continue on.
Thank you. So the last item that we wanted to bring forward, and I'm happy to bring this forward, but I know that Laurie Shea Smith will wish to speak to this as well. I wanted to recognize the contributions that Deborah Johnson has made to the work of this commission. I know that Deborah was on board. She was one of the first consultants hired by the board after the first board meeting in February of last year, so a year ago. And once I had come on board, Deborah was of great assistance to me personally in terms of helping me out, get some of the initial building blocks in place for our financial oversight responsibilities and our ability to provide information that the board needs to act on. Deborah, I think, has joined us for the call as well. Deborah's assignment with us has reached an end, and I believe that last Friday was kind of the last formal work that Deborah was involved with Laurie on. But I personally am very thankful to Deborah for all the work that she carried out in advance of Laurie and Doughton coming on board. I want to convey my thanks to Deborah for all of her friendship and assistance over the course of the first few months while we were here. And I wanted to personally recognize that. We did want to bring this forward for the board to recognize her contribution as well. I know that Laurie's going to speak to this as well, and we did have a little bit of a parting gift that on behalf of the board we will be presenting to Deborah, but I understand it's not quite ready, but Laurie will probably provide some additional details about that. So I'll turn it over to Laurie.
Thank you, Paul. So, thank you for letting me speak, because, Deborah was instrumental in my onboarding when I joined the commission in September. And I'm very grateful to her professionalism and to the support that she provided to all of us and to the commission. in the last year that she's been on board, she's done some pretty big things, and her contribution should be recognized. We are where we are today because of all of the work that she's done in the last year. She spent quite a bit of time, first when she started getting all of the banking and payment processes started and set up for us, so we can start in the summer by paying our vendors and getting going. And that was a big feat for her as well. She set up our reporting system. She set up a whole bunch of documentation on our financial policies and procedures. Those are still, we're working on those and finalizing those. She was instrumental in selection of our payroll service provider. So, we could not only, pay our new employees and, process our board remuneration. I know that she's worked closely with you guys on that as well. Our forecasting and budgeting, she helped with the budget in the fall, and I was very grateful for her help there. When we selected our external auditor in the fall, she helped me with the RFP and then the selection of the auditor, and our audit is currently underway, and she was, instrumental in that. And, the onboarding of me. And then for the last 6 weeks, supporting, the hiring and the transition of tasks to Doughton, who is our new manager of financial services. So, on behalf of Paul, myself, and all of the commission, I would really like to sincerely thank Deborah for her efforts and wish her all the best as her next adventure begins.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. I see Councillor Houston. You would care to say something here?
No, I was just asking Deborah to turn on her camera so we can give her a wave and say hello. She's kind of being hiding on us there, but I just wanted to say thank you to Deborah as well. It's always a challenge for us as new board members getting orientated with our financial responsibilities and stuff. And just want to say on behalf of all of us, on behalf of myself at least, anyway, to say thank you very much for helping guide me through all that. All the initial startups and that. So thanks again, Deborah, and good luck in your next endeavor.
Thank you, Councillor Houston. And I trust that, Deborah, you can read the chat as well. Councillor Makop Swain has put some comments in there. I would certainly like to echo my thanks to you, Deborah, for working with me to do some work in relation to the finances of the commission. I got to tell the board this story only because it's kind of funny, is that when you start an organization from nothing, you have to engage the CRA to try and get your organization in such a place where not only do they collect money, but they'll interact with you. And I got to tell you, that was an 8-month trial of tribulation. If anybody has watched the movie Catch-22, it's just exactly like that. So because my name was the only one on the register with CRA, I was the only one who could converse with them. But every time I would go to them, they would ask for information that I didn't have, at which point I wasn't able to answer any questions. So Deborah and I got on together. And so I would say to the guy at CRA, which is in Prince Edward Island, well, here I am, this is who I am, and I'm the commission chair, and oh, by the way, we need to add Lori Shea Smith to our register. And he says, well, I need this information. So I gave him that. And he says, well, I need more. He says, what do you need? He says, so I gave him that. And then he said, well, that doesn't match with what we have on file. And I said, well, tell me what doesn't match and I'll try and fix it. He says, well, I can't tell you that. This is what you can't tell me. No. So where do I go to get this fixed? And he says, well, you can do it all online. So I went online and we tried to work through it, got to this form that says, oh, by the way, you have to phone this number, which was exactly the same number I had just talked to. So we go back there again and it says, well, do you have this information? I says, this is what we got. Doesn't match. Well, can you tell me what's wrong? No, can't tell you that. 8 months, but we got through it. And so thank you, Deborah, for your perseverance Lori, for your patience. But in any case, that was done. So I tell the story just to demonstrate Deborah's professionalism and patience in working with me for one thing, but also patience with the CRA. You think municipal governments are hard to deal with? I don't think they got anything on the feds, but in any case. Deborah, you got any final comments? Turn the microphone over to you.
I think she may be having technical issues. She had to join from her iPad, so I'm not sure that she's going to be able to speak.
Well, I trust she heard our sentiments, and she understands how deeply we appreciated her efforts. And I know that you and Paul have put together something to recognize her contributions to the commission, and we certainly appreciate that. So Deborah, our many, many thanks, and wish you all the best as you continue in your business endeavors. And I hope you are very, very successful, because you deserve to be so.
Thank you. And maybe I'll just add, just for the board's knowledge, and Deborah, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil the surprise, but what we've got for you is we've got so Deborah, for those of you that don't know, is I understand a very devoted cook and loves the whole cooking atmosphere, and is very involved in that. What we've got is a lovely embroidered apron and chef's hat that is going to be embroidered with your insignia with your logo of the Edmonton Transit Services Commission, so that Deborah can think about us every time she's in the kitchen and cooking up those wonderful meals. So thank you, Deborah, for all of your work, and sorry to ruin the surprise, but that's what you're getting on behalf of the board. So thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I do have a text from Deborah. Because she's on her iPad, she can't get her microphone to work. So she's asked me if I could say thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a great ride, and I'm proud to have been part of the commission and excited to watch our continuation.
Outstanding, Deborah, and thank you, Lori Shea Smith and Mr. Jankowski. I appreciate that, and certainly to allow us as a board to say thank you. Appreciate that very much. Our next item of business is to move in camera. We want to get to this because I do know that board members have to move on to other items during the day. So if we can get a motion to accept that as information, the materials presented, if someone would care to make that motion. Councillor Finstad, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the board accept as information the materials and discussion as presented during the CEO update.
Thank you very much. Any opening comments?
No, I think we've had a great discussion, and appreciate the update provided by the CEO.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from any board member? Seeing none, I'll call the question, and please raise your hand. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, moving on, we need this motion to move in camera as a board. Would somebody care to make that motion? Councillor Knapp, could I ask you to make this motion?
Absolutely. I'll move that the board move in camera in accordance with the provisions of Division 2 exceptions to disclosure of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act as per sections 16 through 28.
Thank you very much. Call the question. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much, board members. Agata, we'll let you set out the breakout room. As we hear I was just going to say, once we hear that we're recording again, just to your point that you made around moving efficiently through the agenda, appreciate the preparedness of our staff, particularly Mr. Jankowski. You're always very professional in how you present these decisions before the board, but I also appreciate that our board is prepared for the decisions that are made and educate themselves in advance of the meeting. That always makes it go a little bit smoother. So in any case, we need a motion to accept the information that we received in public or in camera. Does somebody want to make that motion? Councillor Finstad, go ahead.
Since everyone's shy, I move the board accept as information the materials and discussion as presented in camera.
Thank you very much, Councillor Finstad. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thanks very much, everybody. And the last one is motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
All right, so moved, and it's non-debatable. So thank you very much, everyone. Looking forward. See you all tomorrow to 8:15 in the city of Leduc. Looking
We'll
forward
welcome
to
you
it.
with open arms.
Perfect.
See y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.